It's Wednesday night. You know what that means, I think. It is the post AEW Dynamite podcast here on the Wrestling Inc. channel. And boy, I am really interested in our live chat room. I would love to get some live reaction and interpretations, I think is the appropriate word for what we saw tonight. But we will get to that in just a moment. I am Justin LaBar, being joined alongside my Wednesday night crew. First down in the beautiful island of Puerto Rico, she is our NYC Demon Diva, Issa, and north of the border in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. He is pro wrestling referee extraordinaire for 20 plus years. He's done it all. He's drank with Andre. He's reffed a Taker Mania match. He's even crossed the picket line. He is the one, the only, Jimmy Korderas. Jimmy, how are you tonight?
Boy, oh boy. I wish I could say I was better, until, anyway, we'll get into it. Let me just put it that way. The sad news is I almost started smoking again.
I was gonna say you almost started smoking again. Issa's hitting the bottle. It's or the glass rather. Issa, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm glad that Jimmy still is aware of the Wednesday night rules and he's wearing his pink. Appreciate that, Jimmy. Unlike Justin LaBar, who's desperately trying to find something pink in his outfit as we speak. I have some of my people. I bring my viewers over to Wrestling Inc. when I get done. So some of the people can tell you what we had to do to make it through this episode tonight. And that is drink heavily. So here we are. I can't wait to talk about it with you guys still because I hated everything about tonight's episode.
Well, I wouldn't say everything. I will.
I say everything.
Okay. I don't want to say it.
There was like a commercial break somewhere in there.
Hey, look, this is not mean you need to turn the podcast off because there is a lot of things that are genuinely, when I say this, interesting, and which can be taken a lot of ways. But I want to hear interpretations of what we got here before we get into tonight's Dynamite, as we are just 11 days out at current time from the big All-In show. Before we get to that, let's talk about some news items. We'll do one WWE news item before we ride AEW for the remainder of the episode, and that is, it appears Lacey Evans, or that's how you know her in WWE, it appears that she is done with WWE. Her social media was kind of hinting towards the hours winding down to her time as a WWE superstar, and she's now using her real name, Macy Estrella, on social media, and she's even responded to fans thanking her for her work, and so it does seem like her contract has expired, and her time with WWE is done. Jimmy, she's a baffling run in WWE. First doing the sassy, doing the Southern Belle thing, a lot of momentum there, and then some injuries and some reboots and a legit pregnancy, a angle. I wish I forget that hinted towards Ric Flair being the one who was the father of her baby. I don't even know where to. I mean, she had so much potential. Her look, her athleticism, her charisma, the actual military background. I thought, man, sky is the limit for her. But what happened?
I wish I had an answer for you. I don't know what happened. Somebody didn't see the potential or saw something different than what she could have brought to the table. Let's put it that way. She, like you said, she had all the tools and she had that military background, like you talked about, which is something that really sits in WWE's wheelhouse, especially the big boss. He loves that sort of thing. So there was something there, but for some reason they decided to go like you said, Southern Belle and do all these different things. And they just couldn't seem to settle on something and kept changing her presentation, for lack of a better term. And when you do that, it's hard for people to get invested, and also hard for the talent to get invested too, when you keep, changing the rules.
Issa, do you want to see the formerly known as Lacey Evans pop up somewhere else on Pro Wrestling TV?
I mean, maybe, yeah. I like Lacey as the Southern Belle with that sass. I thought that was the best gimmick, and I don't know why we got away from that. But of course, I want to see her have all the success in the world, whatever it is that she does next, whether she continues to wrestle or goes in a different direction. But yeah, it's baffling. It feels like a bag was fumbled, to say the least, because she did have a lot of the, on paper, Lacey Evans should have been a huge star, and we didn't get there, and I can't tell you why.
Yeah, Christopher writing at least WWE let her contract run out instead of releasing her. Well, yes, but that but that's whether maybe she didn't want that. Maybe she wanted to get out early and they refused to do so. Maybe fearing that she goes somewhere else. So we'll have to wait and see if she decides to talk publicly about what the situation is. Ricky Salvador saying, Lacey, she copy Mandy Rose. Go to her OnlyFans page. All right.
Hey, listen.
Hey, money to be made. Make your money.
There is money to be made.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe her taste for doing ring work has been soured now. Who knows? Like, will she turn up somewhere else? We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, and look, she did have a little bit of part of history. I think, she got to wrestle over in Saudi Arabia. She might have actually been the first lady.
Yeah, she was against Natalia. Correct.
Okay, so I mean, you can't ever take that away. She's forever going to be part of that history. So, yeah. So we'll see where it goes with Lacey Evans, or formerly known as Lacey Evans. See if she pops up anywhere else in the pro wrestling world or anywhere else in the entertainment world. All right, let's jump over to AEW. Here's a story again you can read on Wrestling Inc. The report headline. The headline is a report: AEW wrestlers upset with Tony Khan over All In planning. So this is an interesting one. According to SC Scoops, Khan's leadership skills have been called into question over the build to All In. Furthermore, his handling of the locker room, especially in the wake of the recent CM Punk related backstage controversies, has led to some frustration among his employees. A lot are upset about Wembley, one source told SC Scoops. Maybe if it were just Wembley, it would be different. But with everything that's happened over the last year, it's becoming the one major issue. People want to know if they're going to London, what the card is going to be. It's a show everyone wants to be on. It's like our WrestleMania 3 or maybe our WrestleMania 1, but there isn't any urgency. People are scared we aren't going to live up to this moment. Issa, this is not the first time we've heard about, a lot of people coming into AEW TV, not knowing if they're booked, not being used. Of course, that's a big trip going over to London. So certainly you'd like to know if you got to prepare for that. So, this certainly would seem to fall in line with some of the other chatter that we've heard about the kind of very frantic pace that AEW is running right now.
Yeah, I like this report. I'm actually more concerned about the money and I get that we make a choice, right, when we decide, hey, I'm going to travel and go to this show, but I see a lot of like AEW hardcores that book this travel months in advance. I personally thought this would be bigger than what it feels going into it, and this is me coming from a little bit of disappointment from tonight's show. But if as a fan or as a viewer or as somebody that reviews the product, I feel a little bit disappointed on how the bill for this is going, I can't imagine what people on the inside are feeling like.
Yeah, Jimmy, this is a historic show. Nothing can take away that they sold 70,000 plus tickets before really announcing any matches here. And so that's a great accomplishment and take your lap there. That does then add on pressure of you need to deliver here. And certainly, as we're going to talk about in a minute, this the rapid build all of a sudden, the last minute build maybe. That's not the way I'd want to start this final stretch to this historic show.
No, and you look this week, and again, trying to compare it to the other guys, and I know people are going to say, hey, but, WrestleMania 40, they've got the ticket sales out there. They're doing their big push this week for the, WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia. In WWE, let me put it to you this way. They may not have the card locked up as of right now, but they have an idea where they want to go. They've got stuff down on paper that they say, listen, this is where we'd like to be maybe by WrestleMania 40. Yes, we know cards subject to change depending on how things progress because, there's a lot of things that can happen between now and when WrestleMania 40 rolls around. But at the same time, they have a game plan. And it feels like every week on AEW, there's no game plan going into the show or even going into the pay-per-view. It's kind of like fly by the seat of your pants. And that's the feeling I get. And some people might like that feeling. I just wish that they had more structure and more of a game plan going in, so to speak, as opposed to waiting last minute.
Yeah. Obviously we know MJF and Adam Cole is the main event. And that, again, is one that I feel like that probably was in pencil for a while. And it makes sense. And I think we all agree it's the biggest world title match AEW put on.
It's not the biggest world title match you could put on, but okay.
Well, but let's put it this way. They get two of the loudest reactions of anybody. So I'll go with that. But everything else just start as we'll go through here segment by segment.
Get the two biggest reactions because that's what you're built. You haven't built anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Well, even prior to them, even prior,
I know
Adam
what
Cole
you're saying,
returning.
but you and I both know that there's bigger matches that you could have built here.
Well, yeah, I mean, the biggest thing you can build off is make some money off of all the controversy you've had backstage. That would be, I guess, your biggest.
But even MJF against Kenny Omega would have not been opposed as opposed to a rematch with Adam Cole.
Well, we'll get to Kenny Omega in a little bit. But everything else just feels like how many names can we compile, and then let's just throw them in there.
Yeah. Cheers to that.
All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into this episode here. We kick it off with the international champion, Orange Cassidy, up against Wheeler Yuta. Orange Cassidy, the biggest win streak, the most fighting champion, gets the win, immediately jumped by the Blackpool Combat Club. Best friends come out, but Blackpool Combat Club on the offensive and in control. And then here comes the Lucha Brothers with Penta and Phoenix. Now, obviously, it makes sense for them to come out. We talked a lot last week about, they ripped Penta's mask off and all that stuff. But they come out and there's no urgency. They're kind of just walking. There's not even like an urgency, a fire to get out there. They eventually get to the ring. Blackpool Combat Club gets chairs. It still looks like we need some help. And then the return of Eddie Kingston, who's been in Japan recently, as commentary tells us, and he goes right after Claudio, long-standing feud there. And Eddie Kingston challenges him on the mic. Blackpool Combat Club, find whoever you can find. You're going to go up against us in a stadium stampede match in Wembley. Jimmy, a lot to unpack here, but it ultimately leads to what's going to be a stadium stampede match. I'll let you start wherever you want to start.
Where do I start? I don't know where to start because so much was happening in so little time. It just, we had the match and you can say what you will. Here we go again with Orange Cassidy in his usual spot, starting off the show on a Wednesday night. But, it was a okay match.
The match was fine.
Yeah, the match was fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But then they felt the need to add all that extra curricular activity after the match and not let anything breathe. That was the whole thing. That was the theme of the night for me. I'm going to be saying this a lot tonight. My old, phrase 20 and 10, 20 pounds of potatoes in a 10-pound bag. The whole idea is to take potatoes out of that 10-pound bag, not try to cram in more than 20 pounds. And tonight felt like, they were everything felt rushed. And even at the end of this match, everything felt rushed, just trying to get it in.
Yeah, he said Stadium Stampede went over pretty well in the pandemic era when they got creative at Daly's Place. So certainly a huge stadium like Wembley. I mean, I guess there is certainly potential. But again, we're 11 days out, and now we don't even know. This Blackpool Combat Club still has to find 3 more people to team with them.
I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this surprise opponent thing. They do it for every freaking pay-per-view. Every pay-per-view. Think about it. They did it for Forbidden Door. They did it for whatever. Everybody always has. We have an announcement, and they make it the show before the pay-per-view. So you pay for people you don't know who you're going to see. I'm sure it'll be great. I feel like there's a lot of people here. First of all, if you want people to turn the channel, open the show with Orange Cassidy against Wheeler Yuta. If I didn't have to watch it, I would have just completely tuned out immediately. It's not a show opening match to keep eyes on the product. On top of that, everything, not just this, everything tonight felt like a lot of people involved in too many 20 and 10. It was 110 tonight, Jimmy, if you put them all together. But there was a lot of people here that I would have rather seen in a singles match. And that includes Jon Moxley. That includes Claudio Castagnoli. I think Claudio against Eddie on a singles match would have been more interesting than this. Now, don't get me wrong. I think there's a lot of matches going into All In that people are going to have a chip on their shoulders. They know how big this event is and they're going to deliver. I have gone into a lot of AEW pay-per-views with expectations close to no expectations, and they just completely blow it out of the water, right? So I'm sure they're going to do the same thing with the Stadium Stampede. But did I ask for it? No. It might deliver, but it's just not something that I would have. It wasn't the first thing in my brain when you're talking about the biggest wrestling event, right? Because they dropped that a lot tonight. Talk about the biggest wrestling event. I was like, man, I would love to see a Stadium Stampede match between, I don't even know how many people, and I can name 80% of them. No, this is not what I envisioned.
Yeah, there's a lot of players and a lot of matches that are announced tonight. This is one match I get. You have to have a lot of people because that's kind of what makes the fabric of Stadium Stampede. But yeah, again, for what's a great heat spot last week of you ripping Penta's mask off and you're mocking him and you're wearing the mask, it felt like that was just an afterthought in this, and you know, they just didn't capitalize, in my opinion, on the heat that they could have had.
Again, sorry to cut you off. Not thinking forward.
Yeah, we'll see. And you know, you're right. As he said, sometimes you have some bigger names you could just have in a singles match, and it's a bigger deal. Don't dilute it by just having a whole bunch of people for the sake of it. Right. Martin saying $4.99 super chat. Thank you, Martin. Not wrestling related, but I enjoy hearing the show when he says on. He loves the sounds in the background. He misses Puerto Rico.
He hears the sound of the coquí, which is our frog. It only lives here in Puerto Rico. You only hear it here in Puerto Rico. You take it out of Puerto Rico, it dies. So, fun fact about the coquí, I love that I get to play it in the background for some people, because when I didn't live in Puerto Rico, I missed it. So I'm glad I can provide that to you.
That is a fun. It does a legit die.
It dies.
It has
so
to be.
A lot of us are. We always compare ourselves to the coquí. When you leave the island, you die a little inside until they bring you back. You know, but yeah, they have taken it to similar temperatures, similar climates. It doesn't make it. It only makes it here. Yeah.
Learn something new. All right. All right, we get a pre-taped sit down with Jim Ross. Looks like I believe it took place at Daly's place. Jim Ross sitting down with Kenny Omega. Omega's talking about Uncle Don being in his life, and I think in so many ways he talked about Uncle Don giving him vials of things. Was he insinuating that Don Callis gave him steroids as a teenager? Real quick, that
yes, he was.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm reading between the lines, right? That's what this is.
That's what I got out of it, LaBar. You're not alone.
Okay. No, I think whether it was intended or not, that's how it read.
Okay, just checking. Continuing. Talking about Uncle Don in his life. Talks about how Don has replaced him with Takeshita. Omega speaks about his affinity and respect he had for Takeshita. They show some archive video, and so you know, Don knows that he's hurting Kenny here in his heart. And then Don shows up. He showed up at Daly's place, and him and Takeshita, Juice Robinson, and Jay White, they all attack Kenny Omega. So Kenny Omega is now in the hospital, and then we flip to seeing a more updated update from Hangman Adam Page, who's outside of that hospital, and he says that Kenny is not Kenny is not friendless. He's gonna have Hangman and Kota Ibushi by his side. So we'll just stop right there for that. So look, Issa, you talked about earlier about Omega, and you were debating me of maybe Omega versus MJF. I think again, you have Kenny freaking Omega. You don't need to put him in a 6-man. You don't need to have it be Kenny versus Takeshita. If he could beat Takeshita, he gets 5 good minutes with Don Callis. A nice old wrestling stipulation, Tony Khan. But he's again muddying it up, doing a 6-man tag. It makes me wonder: is Kenny just not 100%? Is this a way of preserving him, his body, so you have him on the show, but not making him do all the work? I don't know.
If you believe the rumors that are out there, a lot of them, I don't know where they come from, so I don't believe them. But there was rumor of maybe doing Omega versus Bryan 2.0 here at All In. Remember, we had one match between the two of them, went 60 minutes. It was a no contest. So I feel like that's a rematch that we're all waiting for. If you go by the numbers will tell you that when you put Kenny Omega on a singles match, the ratings do jump. Right? Like I don't want to see Kenny Omega involved in no trios. No, I don't want to see him any of that. I want to see Kenny Omega wrestle whatever dream matches I have left for him in my brain, because we don't know how much we have left, right? He have been very open about that last injury where he was out for a while and saying how hard it was for him to even come back. So maybe you're right. Maybe he's not at 100%. But I don't know that for the biggest wrestling. Again, it's because they're just dropping that so much. This is not what I would have put Kenny Omega in. However, one of the things that I did enjoy, you were right. Maybe I didn't hate everything. My God, did JR give no F about the beatdown going on? Yeah. Like a couple of times the camera cut to JR and he's just standing there.
Yeah,
like, this is happening.
The reaction or lack of reaction shots from JR, well, I did notice. Thank you for pointing that out.
It was amazing. Like that, I actually had a huge pop for that. And
talk about huge pop. Ethan Cruz says maybe CM Punk doesn't want him having a one-on-one.
You know what? Oh. I wouldn't put it past them. But I will say that I am a sucker for presentation, and even if you don't have the budget, fake it. But this Hangman Page outside of the hospital promo was the worst thing ever shot. You're not outside of the hospital. You're clearly in the arena. Like, please, at least get a green screen. Come on, guys. They're cheap. They're cheap. You can hang it at any wall in the arena and make it look like he's actually outside of a hospital. Like, this is a very easy effect. I can even do it, and I'm not that good at editing. So come on.
Was that the pre-tape, Jimmy Korderas? Was that the Hangman pre-tape that he? You remember the wording was supposedly that he went to Collision and had a pre-tape that he needed to do, and they said you can't do it here. And I wonder if that's this.
Yeah, and Issa, not to argue with you here, but it didn't even look like it was happening in the arena. It looked like it was outside, and they just got an ambulance to do the shot. And
yeah, whatever he was, it was not outside of a hospital. I know that much.
And it just looked so. Yeah.
Hey, cheap. It looked cheap.
Yeah, it did. It didn't look good at all.
Well, at least he was outside of a hospital, not a medical facility.
Well, that's true.
Bernie in DC. This AEW show went into the Jimmy 30 pounds of potatoes in a 10-pound bag. Let stuff breathe. I mean, there's potato soup, there's mashed potatoes, there's potato skins. There's a lot of potatoes going on tonight here.
Yeah,
we got a lot of potatoes we got to use up.
Absolutely. And again, we get the post interview beatdown. Another. Let's get as many people in on this segment as we can.
Shout out to JR though. He kept it real. He was like, "So this is happening, and I don't care. Do I have to stand here while they beat down Kenny Omega?"
Right. And again, you got to believe that Jim Ross sees some of these things that us and the audience are all saying. Some of these very blunt critiques that are just screaming in the face. And again, it's like, has he tried to say something? Does he just say, "Screw it, I'm at this stage of my career. I'm just gonna take my pay and I'm just gonna let these guys learn on their own"? I don't know. I wonder. So we go from that stuff with Don Callis that happened earlier in the week to now Don Callis is in the ring.
Too much Don Callis, like back to back.
He's got something in the ring covered up with a black sheet. He calls out Chris Jericho and wants to know, is Jericho going to say yes and go and be part of the Don Callis family?
I'm sorry, Justin. I just had to point out how they booked the Stadium Stampede, and then they booked another multiple man match back to back. Back to back.
That's the entire show.
You could not even like paste it differently, but no, it's like Stadium Stampede. Then we're gonna put these 6 guys together. Then we're gonna put. I'm just saying that there's like no singles matches going into All In.
Look, a beatdown happened after every match tonight. Several times, people got cut off in their entrance. I mean, it's just all over the place. It was crazy. He wants to know, is Jericho going to join? Jericho starts to sound like Jericho's going to. He's saying that he needs to get back to his roots. He needs to find somebody as low as him. And so Jericho says, yes, I'm going to join. And this kind of shocks Don Callis. Don Callis says, let's head out to the streets and go beat up some rednecks. It really wants to get out of there. But Jericho wants to know, hey, wait a minute, what's hiding under the sheet? Only to reveal it's a giant painting of Don Callis holding Chris Jericho's severed head. This then starts to have tensions flare. Callis reveals, yeah, I didn't think you were going to join because you have too much of an ego. It has to be all about you. And then Don gets called an asshole by Jericho. Don slaps Jericho. Jericho goes after Don. Takeshita and Will Ospreay attack. And so now we're going to have Takeshita and Will Ospreay beating up on Jericho. Don hits Jericho with the glass frame picture, and then Sammy Guevara comes out and runs them all. So it looks like Sammy and Jericho will be in a tag match versus Ospreay and well, actually, what heck?
No, it's just Jericho and Ospreay.
Just Jericho.
For now.
As of now, for All In, yes.
They might put him on the pre-show on a tag match later on. You never know.
With Sammy floating around. I want to pull the super chat up. It's been waiting patiently from Scott. Jericho Appreciation Society members all turned face a week ago in a great promo segment for All, and leave Jericho only for him to turn face this week. How does that make sense, Jimmy? I'll throw to you first to that.
It doesn't make sense, and you know what? Yes, Jericho came off in this thing as a 100% babyface, and you know if that was the plan, then don't do what you did last week. You know what I'm saying? It just muddies the waters, so to speak. It's just too much.
It makes me wonder. When they did that segment last week, did they know what they were doing this week?
There you go.
No, tonight's show was booked on the go. I'm convinced.
But yeah. Jericho's normally a king of long term. That's what's kind of surprising about that. If that's what happened, I don't know.
Well, it's like something you said, Justin. With all the great minds they have there, isn't there somebody that could just say, "Hey, listen, this needs to make sense. It doesn't make sense right now. Can we tighten the screws a little bit and just
The only person that can say that is CM Punk, Jimmy.
Oh, apparently, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Issa, this is kind of stunning from how it went down last week in a way.
Well, there was rumors out there that it was going to be Jericho and Ospreay, and I was curious about how we will get there. I guess I should have known with the Don Callis tie-in into everything. This was an example of this is going well, and then it went on too long. I did like Sammy being the one making the save for Jericho because he did leave it in weird, I'm leaving, but I'm not really leaving you terms with Jericho. He was wearing his Inner Circle gear last week. So there's a little bit of continuity here, if you really think about it, compared to how everybody in JAS treated Jericho last week. We'll see where this goes, right? I like the painting. I thought everything was going well, and then they just kept talking. And that's when I'm just like, that happened a lot tonight, where it was just like, you talk too much, literally. I know that's what is the name of that channel? You know what I'm talking about. Butchamania. They do that. You talk too much. There was a lot of talking tonight on Dynamite. This was one of those examples. I feel like once the painting was unveiled, we should have stopped talking and gone into something physical there.
Yeah, so we'll see. So right now, Don Callis, he's got both Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho both want their hands on him. I mean, Don Callis, he can work. I'd be curious if we're coming down the road again with all the big shows they have coming up.
But he has his group of people that can work for him.
Right, but the payoff is seeing him get his ass kicked. So
right.
Correct.
So you couldn't do this last week in Winnipeg, where you would have got the reaction the desired reaction for the two Winnipeg boys. You know what I mean? Anyway.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, right. Both baby faces that I just named here that want their hands on Don are both Winnipeg guys.
Mm-hmm. I know Don's from Winnipeg, but he's not well liked there either.
Well, they would have played into it all the more. Yeah,
exactly. And before you move on to the next segment, they didn't let this breathe. They went right into it.
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah.
30 and 10.
And a bunch of people came out and beat up Jericho like every other segment in this show.
Mm-hmm.
They do a vignette with Jack Perry, and he talks about how next week he's going to retire the FTW title, and then when we come back to the arena, we don't see Taz, but Taz is just kind of befuddled on commentary, and he's not sure what to make of this. Any predictions? I don't always include vignettes, but I thought this was a notable one. Any obviously Jack Perry's going to come out and try to retire. Does Hook just show up? Does another ECW legend show up? Does Taz show up? What are we thinking?
No, it should. If anybody's going to retire the championship, if they're going to do it, it should be Hook, in my opinion. But the one thing you pointed out was here's this big announcement by Jack Perry, and we hear Taz comment on it. How come you don't shoot him so we can get that reaction? Yes, we got the vocal reaction. You need the physical reaction from his face, like the shock, the look, like he's how dare he,
right,
so to speak. Now you can continue the FTW thing with an ECW legend, possibly, but Hook makes more sense. Right. And Hook could be the one who comes out and say, if anybody's going to retire that championship, it's going to be me. That's why I'm going to face you for it one more time at All In. And
I wouldn't do it at All In.
No?
They're waiting until next Wednesday. Next Wednesday now, at that point, you're what? I would hold this to something, if you can get it to Queens. Mm-hmm. Because Taz and Hook and New York, I feel like it's just something simple you could do it for the Queen show. But I mean, that's still later in September, so you still have some time to go. But I would say there's no need to put this for All In.
Yeah, good point. Very good point.
I mean, while I like to have a few more one-on-one matches for All In, I don't think this has to be necessarily it.
It already looks like it's getting overloaded anyway. So
right, Terry Allen Jr. saying submission style wrestling is my favorite. Patience, pace with agony, attacking limbs.
What's your style, Trio? I guess asking us. Whatever's entertaining.
Yeah.
I like all various forms of presentation depending on whether it's
I like a good submission move. I think when built the right way, the drama of is this person going to give up? Is this person going to tap? Is this person going to pass out? Right? There's some people that you don't believe are going to submit, so that makes a really fun match. But I'm also a sucker for a good finisher move that comes out of nowhere, gets hit, and ends the match. So I feel like both styles could work.
All right, we got Darby Allin and Nick Wayne coming out. They are jumped from behind
Of course they are, because
Stop.
why wouldn't they be?
From the gates of agony. So that's gonna
Nobody knows who they are.
I know it's gonna get them. They look like
Nobody knows who
they look like the knockoff version of like Bloodline. Like
No, they don't. Stop right there.
no Bloodline like
Stop right. Stop
Castaways.
Right
Castaways.
Stop. Just stop right now.
They didn't make the cut for extras. The entire time, Swerve and AR Fox are kind of roaming around out there. We get coffin drop from Darby, and then we get Sting on the big screen. It's Joker Sting appears, and he has apparently abducted Prince Nana. And yeah, there's a coffin match. It's between they announced that last week.
Abduct someone that people care about.
I've already said Prince Nana. It's the character. You're supposed to be like royalty, or whatever. Like I said, he's wearing like jeans from the Gap, and he's just kind of dressed like a dude.
Is the Gap still a thing?
I don't know.
This whole thing just felt like, okay, we're having this match at All In. We need to get them on the show somehow tonight. And what are we going to do? Let's just do this.
Yeah, I guess.
It just.
What do you make of Joker Sting? We saw it in TNA, of course.
Well, we saw it in TNA. I guess it's just whether I don't know whose idea was whether Sting himself wanted to bring that character back, or Tony suggested it and said, "Hey, let's do this and just have a little flashback."
I think he was watching the show and losing it too, along with all of us, and that's what we got.
There you go.
Yeah. So we.
Why they kidnap somebody that nobody cares about? Like, you're not gonna get that reward money for. I don't even know his name. What's his name? Prince something?
Yeah. Well,
Prince
to Scott Langford, who commented about the coffin match in our comment section, that's a good idea. How about you explain why we're doing a coffin match instead of just saying, let's do a coffin match?
Why would they do that?
Is there a logical reason they're going that far with this? Is it just, let's find a stipulation. Hey, you know what? Let's just do this. It just feels, again, out of the blue.
Yeah. Cleveland rocks. If this doesn't remind everyone of late WCW, you're blind. Yeah, there's some parallels. All right, now we get to the MJF Adam Cole portion of the show. At first, it's as we've come to know, some vignettes of what they did this past week. They're of course getting ready for their Aussie Open opponents, so they go to Outback Steakhouse, as one does, to scout the culture.
Get prepared for our pre-show match.
Get ready for the pre-show match. MJF says if the food was that good, the wrestling's going to be unstoppable. He raved about the bloomin' onion. Who doesn't love that bloomin' onion sauce?
Good, true.
Then they start. Adam Cole's got the Crocodile Dundee DVDs, and they start the double clothesline. Or first, we show video of fighting kangaroos. MJF is obsessed with the kangaroo kick to be the secret weapon to winning this. Then they show them stalking a crocodile and double clotheslining a worker backstage. Then they're yelled at by Tony Khan. Boss Tony Khan makes a rare appearance where he's not making an announcement, where he apparently behind closed doors is reaming these guys out. There's some irony there.
Wait, really quickly, if I may interject.
Yeah.
Tony Khan is in his office wearing sunglasses. I don't know.
He wears the sunglasses at night. So that's that. And then we get to them pulling up here in Nashville, and they go to the ring, and it's a big babyface promo spot. Adam Cole
talk for like half hour.
Yeah, they're putting over both matches. They're also the open match and how they're going to win the tag titles of Ring of Honor, then how they're going to main event the biggest show ever. Adam Cole says he will do anything and everything to get this world title. He's been at the top of every other company. MJF then says the story of breaking into the business, getting to AEW, two dream opponents when he started training, Cody Rhodes and Adam Cole, and says now this title means everything. He's going to main event this match with his best friend and Adam Cole. So a big old love fest, but they both are serious when telling each other that they are going to bring their best and not holding back anything. And just as all that is being done in sign of respect, also the open attacks, they quickly get discarded by Cole and MJF. And then Adam Cole teased they're just going to do the super kick, but oh no, we just get a hug it out. Issa, it was long, but again, these two guys get the most reaction, and this baby versus babyface thing is working. This is the right main event for the All In show. Again, yes, we've all agreed. The pre-show crap is there's no need for this, but
there is no need for it, and a lot of what we saw tonight was putting over I mean, the in-ring promo did help with the main event, but a lot of everything tonight was just putting over that pre-show match. And it's driving me crazy that you will put him on a pre-show match. In addition to that, I don't know if it's happening just for me, but it's starting to feel a little forced. There was something organic about the way MJF and Adam Cole were getting over. And now it's just starting to feel like, oh, we gotta like outdo what we did last week. And I just miss MJF being a jerk. I'm sorry. That's just the MJF that I like. This is a preference, right? Don't come for me in the comments. Don't come for me in the chat. I need him to just be mean unless we have Adam Cole turning. If he's let his guard down and Adam Cole is the one that ends up turning, then you play me, right? But it feels forced. This is not organic. When we were here for it, it felt very organic. Here, it's just feeling like you're trying too hard. And maybe it plays out somehow, but I'm not here for it. I'm not here for it anymore. I think the pre-show announcement was a complete turn off for me. Like, how are you gonna have your main event on the pre-show? None of this makes any sense to me.
It screams amateur hour.
Yeah, and the one part that popped me out of this entire thing, well, first of all, I think kangaroos are a badass animal, and I agree with MJF on his training, trying to follow pursuit of the kangaroos, because I've seen some kangaroos like mess some people up. But the one part that really popped me is the tease of Adam Cole doing that super kick. I want, in a way, Adam Cole to outsmart MJF to like cash him with his guard down, but you guys know we've been doing this for a while. My favorite thing in AEW was MJF, but MJF at his douchiest, that's the MJF that I love, and this is just not clicking for me.
Jimmy, MJF has got the people saying the catchphrase with him. That he's the most interesting person that's on the TV for AEW. But did they take away his fastball with having him not be a jerk, or is he going to return to being the most dastardly jerk here in just a matter of time?
He possibly could return to being the most dastardly jerk, but and if that's the case, tonight's promo where he got serious and told his story about breaking in and the rough ride he had to get to where he is today got people on his side. People are siding with him, and then it has to be a very huge FU to the fans by him to get that heat back to where it was before, or even possibly surpass it. So I'm hoping that that's what's going to happen. But by having them appear on the night of All In the pre-show it just doesn't help that situation. Now, if something happens next week on TV where they take that match away from us, they have to be able to have a good explanation as to why that match does not happen now.
Yeah,
WWE doesn't even have any matches in the pre-show anymore. I feel like there is a reason for that.
Lego Brick Collector says it's like Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes teaming up on the WrestleMania 40 pre-show before main eventing the 40th WrestleMania. Well, you're right. Yeah. So there is no match on the pre-show. So to be more apples to apples, it's like Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes are going to main event WrestleMania, but they decide that they're going to go ahead and appear on NXT in a tag match earlier in the day, in the afternoon matinee NXT.
Right.
I said this a lot, and when you look at it, not comparing companies with companies, just comparing status, right? You would never see a Roman Reigns do a lot of the things that they have MJF do. And I give MJF a lot of respect for making whatever they throw at him works, because my God, can he do that? But when he went through a cake, this kind of stuff that he's doing right now, it's just you wouldn't see the top guy in a different company do the things that you have MJF doing, and there is a reason for that.
I will say to what Jimmy just said, that it was an interesting choice tonight. MJF did not have a swerve in his promo. He did not have he showed humility. He talked about, he usually presents the I am high rich royalty and this and that. No, he talked about driving 90,000 miles in his truck. He talked about how he had to DM Cody Rhodes to even get on a show and get noticed. And he talks about if there's not that independent show, then there's no MJF. He showed a lot of humility. So it is an interesting choice.
But he had to do that with that horrible tan. Like, you have to humble yourself.
It's an interesting choice to do. It almost, back to what he said earlier, it almost makes you maybe wonder, are they going to try to swerve, bro, and have Adam Cole turn heel and flip the script and have Adam Cole's the heel and MJF is the face? I don't know.
Yeah, but again, like Issa said, I think MJF right now is at his best when he is that D-bag.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
No, I agree. Scott Langford, 5 Canadian. How often can MJF pull that card, though, with the real-life promo that he can use to get heat? He's used that card 2 or 3 times already. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where they're going long-term here. I'm really interested to see.
I love what Stephen Camp said on the chat where he says, I still don't know why MJF haven't mentioned Punk yet. He was even on an episode of Collision, and CM Punk is walking around with his version of the real title. And the fact that this hasn't been addressed is like a plot hole to me.
Well, yes, but here's one devil's advocate I'll play. So if you already knew, again, they might have known that they were going to they might have known for months they were going to have Adam Cole versus MJF even before they knew if they had Punk coming back around, right? So if they already had this penciled in for Wembley, I would not blame them if we don't speak a word at the moment about how Punk has his other world title, right? You do your Cole MJF. I assume MJF retains. And then if you need a quick, big money match with little time to turn around, as you have it here with the all-out follow-up in Chicago, you could immediately have MJF come out on Dynamite after Wembley, come out and hold up his title, be the MJF prick, Punk's music hits, or you can do this in reverse. It could be Punk comes out.
But
whatever.
if you're doing that, why not have Punk save the moment of unveiling that belt onto that moment? Because as of right now, it hasn't meant anything on Collision.
I won't argue that, but I will just ultimately say you could have these 2 world champions, and I'm doing the air quotes here for those on the audio. That could be a match that you don't need a lot of time. You just need one face-to-face interaction. It's sold, especially
It
again.
Doesn't bother you that CM Punk is just doing the same thing he did? I don't even know how many years ago. With
there's a lot of things about CM Punk that bothers me, but we don't have. We're already 43.
We're not time for that.
I haven't even gotten to the Texas Death Match. Come on now, we don't have time for me to be going down about CM Punk. My point is, Punk with his faux world title and MJF with his title, it would be a main event for an all-out show that's then happening almost immediately after in Chicago. So it's something that you could quickly do as a turnaround. That's what I'm getting at. So maybe that's where they're going. Real quick, another super chat from Huffman's Elite Training. I miss the Daily's Place empty arena era of AEW. I don't know if I'd ever say I missed the empty arena era, but he says the roster was more streamlined, storylines were better and simplified, more entertaining all around.
I don't think you have to go to empty arena. When I think of like my fondest memories with AEW, I remember walking out of All Out, which I attended live, All Out 2021. This is when Bryan debuted. We had Adam Cole debut. We had CM Punk's first match. I walked out of there so excited. I was like, wow, this company really is for real. Felt like stories were being built. I don't feel that level of excitement about AEW right now. Can I get it back? Yes. I mean, we all have this weird relationship with wrestling or wrestling companies where you're hot, you're cold, right? But that wasn't during the empty arena era, but I remember walking out of Arthur Ashe. That was an exciting show. I couldn't wait to go to the very first Arthur Ashe. There was a period of time where I guess it felt more like an alternative and not competition, and that's what I'm struggling with right now. It feels like they're trying to compete with WWE. I miss them when they were an alternative.
I agree. So that fall of 2019 when Dynamite debuted, of course it wasn't without its plots, and of course the roster was not as quality depth yet. But I agree. It felt like the way they did things, the way they presented their backstage segment, everything felt like a fresh perspective of alternative. And you're right, now it just feels like it doesn't feel like a fresh alternative. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, up next. Everybody take a pause.
Hold on, are we gonna talk about this? Because I'm gonna pour a shot.
Everybody
right.
Smoke them if you got them, light them if you got them, pour them if you got them. Take a breath. Namaste.
All right, let's go.
All right. Uzo. Okay.
I'm ready. Okay.
The Texas Chainsaw Death Match. This is a crossover for the new Texas Chainsaw video game. Now, I'll be honest and admit, we've seen zombies in the ring in WWE.
And I was just gonna ask the chat what was worse, and you completely stole that from me.
Give them a chance to let it swirl around for a minute before they cast their vote. I tried to defend when there was a Mountain Dew pitch black match and collect that money, WWE. Okay? Now, AEW collect that money. Remember that for a moment, because I'm going to get back to something that old TK tweeted here a little bit ago. So they do this Texas Chainsaw Death match between Jeff Hardy and Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Hardy comes out. He goes into the ring, and then he goes out into the crowd, and he walks back into a tunnel backstage. And we have, spooky lighting and everything. We don't know why he's walking a said tunnel. Nobody outlined that the match is starting there. But he's going to said tunnel. I guess they figured if they didn't want him to go off-site and do any pre-tapes in a Firefly Funhouse, that they would just create a spooky lit tunnel. And so he goes, he finds Jeff Jarrett, and they start to battle. Karen Jarrett pops up in a minute. And then after that, quickly, we have Satnam Singh, we have Matt Hardy, we have Ethan Page, everybody. They dump fake blood on Karen and Jeff. I guess that way
they put a carry on him.
Right, so that way we can now, it looks like Jeff has actually gone through a death match, but he literally just has been poured with fake blood. We go to picture-in-picture commercial. So now I'm trying to watch this thing in the corner of my screen, and it's all just black, shadowy, because nothing's well lit. They're in the bowels of the building, and it's well lit. We eventually come back. We get a swanton through a table. We get guitar shots. Then all of a sudden, we hear a chainsaw, and Leatherface is out there. He scares some people away. He's the distraction.
Leatherface costume I've ever seen.
He's the distraction that allows Jay Lethal to take a hammer and hit Hardy in the back of the head. Satnam Singh chokeslams him, and then Jeff Jarrett gets to be rolled on for the pin. This was the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen on Dynamite.
That's speaking volumes. I
don't know. They intentionally, consciously put this on TV. I hope the paycheck was fat. Collect your money. But let me go back to that comment, though. Let me pull it up here. Move my notes out of the way. At 10:04 p.m. Eastern Time this evening. So 4 minutes after Dynamite goes off the air and about, 8-9 minutes before we started this podcast recording. 10:04 p.m. Tony Khan tweets the following. All proceeds we receive for tonight's Texas Chainsaw Game Death Match will be donated to the Maui Food Bank. We made a lot of changes to Dynamite tonight to make tonight's episode Fight for the Fallen, including the Texas Chainsaw Game, to help the charity. Donate now. Let me be clear. What is happening in Maui is tragic. It's tragic anywhere in the world. It's tragic. I've been to Hawaii several times. A beautiful place. It is absolutely tragic what's happening there. Absolutely tragic. It's tremendous. AEW and anybody who's promoting and helping facilitate any help efforts to Maui. I'm not knocking that. If you take my sound clip of what I'm about to say and you don't include that, screw you. I'm saying supporting the Maui Fund is absolutely 100% awesome. What I find interesting here is at 10:04 p.m. after the show's going off the air, and I've watched social media this entire night, everybody's just baffled of what we've just seen. This death match was a death match for ratings and for morale and for everything. I find it interesting that we all of a sudden announce now that we are parlaying having done said spectacle match into the relief fund help. It's almost like we're taking this match that just was a cluster. You know what?
I will play devil's
and baby facing it. I don't know. It feels like they're baby facing a terrible match.
I will play devil's advocate, and
Please.
This is where my watch-alongs come in handy. It was announced on the actual show as soon as it started. There was a little scroll that went off.
Okay.
And, they actually said it because I am kind of too intoxicated to function right now. But I do remember saying it on the beginning of my watch-along when I was like, "Wow, that's awesome!" But what proceeds? At one point during my live stream, I even said they should have a link or something scrolling if this is what you're doing the show. So the whole point to this is maybe he tweeted it at that time. But it was announced on the beginning of the show that all proceeds will go to that.
Fair enough. I still can't get past it. The tweet still makes it feel like we're taking. I'm sure he
should have tweeted it right then and there.
I'm sure he had to. Well. I'm sure he had to see the reaction on Twitter. It just feels like you're trying to babyface a match. That was god awful.
The sad thing is that there's still people defending tonight's episode and this match.
No.
And it's like there's one thing about being fans of something, we all have our favorites, but there's no defending this. I'm sorry, there isn't.
No.
Jake with a $5 super chat he's waiting a while for. Thank you, Jake. Texas Chainsaw. It's nice that they're willing to try something new, but personally, it's also nice that they learn from this and never try it again.
Yeah.
Look, I don't know. This was just cringeworthy.
Where do you begin? Where do you begin to I mean, like, look, I get the idea of a death match. I've seen them. I've actually refereed them. This again featured so many people that you didn't know where to focus your attention. Now, I'm taking away all the donation stuff out of this picture here. I'm just talking about the match itself. There's so much going on over here. There's so much going on over there. It's supposed to be Jeff versus Jeff with all this going on. But the match was everybody versus everybody. It felt like half the roster versus half the roster. It's just too much gaga going on for anybody to get invested in any of it. And none of it made sense. Again, here we go. It was just violent for violence sake, I guess. And the finish too. Hitting someone with a big hammer like that is not enough. You have to choke slam them too. The hammer, let the hammer be the deal.
I don't. It's the worst thing I think I've seen on Dynamite. And I don't put that on. I don't put that on Jeff Jarrett and Jeff Hardy. I just put it on the entire. I mean, everybody out there, I guess, is just trying to make it work, right? You're booked to do the thing, you do the thing. But the whole thing was just.
I feel bad because I kind of manifested it because at one point I said, "Oh well, why haven't we seen a chainsaw?" And then I heard it, and then I was like, "No, what? You know what? The lesson that we should learn from this whole thing is." We need to figure out how to do sponsorships better because remember, the Zombies match was a sponsorship. The Pitch Black match was a sponsorship. And so was this. We need to figure out a better way to incorporate the sponsors onto the show because whatever it is that is doing is being a fail. And I'm trying to be, I don't know, fair in my criticism because it's not just AEW. There's been other examples of this partnerships just not working, but this was terrible. A lot of it was shot backstage in a way that you couldn't even see what was going on.
That's what I mean,
or who was all involved. And I had a bad feeling this was gonna get weird when Jeff Hardy came out with that weird mask. But he looked badass, right? And I said he's wearing white. There's gonna be blood.
Yeah,
there was blood, but it wasn't the way that I wanted to see the blood. It was weird, and there is no defending this. There's no defending the Zombies match either. There's no defending the crappy Pitch Black match. And there's also no defending this, no matter what. This was terrible. And I had a bad feeling about it since it was announced. And then you had Jeff Jarrett win, and then he gets some kind of title. What the hell is this title? Did you see that? He got a belt.
It was a Leatherface title, yeah.
Oh my God. Is this going to be defended now? Is this going to be like the FT championship? Like, I don't know, man. I can't wait to hear some other reviews of this outside of our own.
I would have rather watched security cam footage of CM Punk yelling at Ryan Nemeth and catering. I mean,
oh well.
You know,
okay, so what's worse, the Pitch Black, the Zombies, or this?
I'll say that here's the one thing I can defend about the Pitch Black. At least in the time, the Pitch Black thing was like trying to we were just emerging Uncle Howdy and so at least I felt like it was trying to move something along. This didn't move anything along.
No, it didn't.
Last week, Jeff Hardy's in a match, first time on free TV ever against the Young Bucks. So last week, now he's.
I can't wait to see the numbers by the quarter. I want to see what happened to the viewership during this.
I will say this though, Justin, that you don't think it moved anything. I think it moved a lot of people to the refrigerator.
That's what I was saying. I guarantee you, people either stepped out or changed the channel.
If Dave Meltzer gives that match more than 1 star, I swear to God, I'm going to burn his next newsletter and I'm going to use it for a fire pit and s'mores. I'm going to use it as a sage and cleanse something.
Do you not? You know what? I'll shut up. Do you not think that people stayed and watched maybe because it was like a traffic accident that you can't help but to, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
I don't know. Yeah. Morbid curiosity. I mean, I kept watching because I was being paid because we had to do this tonight, but I think I probably would have.
But But do you think about? Okay, I guess I did for a second.
Let me put it this way.
I was like, maybe I don't want to keep reviewing Dynamite.
If you started, if you
like
started,
it got to a point that I was like, I don't want to get paid to watch this anymore.
if you started watching Dynamite from the beginning, at that point you're probably invested. You're like, all right, now I got to see how this silly shit ends. I'll tell you what, this is not something where, again, you do not want your significant other or your friend to walk in the room and you have to explain what the hell you're watching. That was not one of these times.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
You know, it's really funny because I'm actually a very big horror movie fan. So if you walk into my apartment, there is a big chance that you'll catch me watching a horror movie if it's not wrestling. But this, yeah, I can't even defend that. Like, I wouldn't even say, no, I'm just watching a horror movie, honey. No, there's no defending this. And that was a horrible costume on the Chainsaw Texas person. And we weren't even in Texas.
Right.
Yeah, this was a horror show. By some definition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we just any deflated the rest of the show? It was hard to watch anything else after this.
Poor Britt had to stand backstage at a monitor and watch this before.
She didn't even have to have her match though. We all knew who was winning. This was predictable.
Right.
Yeah, so next match. Britt's up against the Bunny. Obviously, winner goes to the Fatal 4-Way. I've already screamed
at 9:30 on the
I screamed that train never late. I screamed last week. Why does Tony Storm get a bye? We already did all that. Here's another question for you. So Britt's versus the Bunny. They talk about, I believe they said, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, they said this is the Bunny's first match on Dynamite in 6 months. So why the hell is she in the tournament for the title? You tell me somebody else hasn't won within the last 6 months that deserves it?
Well, the champion had to qualify for the championship match, so, you know.
But not Tony Storm. She got a bye.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe she's
because she's a former champ.
No, she's friends with CM Punk.
Yeah.
Well, Britt wins. No shock here. This match went longer than it needed to. Britt should have squashed her. This is. She should have squashed her.
It's sad that the ladies match was put in the usual time slot, but anyway.
All right, the Acclaim come out. Looks like they're gonna have a match against two unknowns. They do the rap. They come out, but the lights go out. House of Black appears. House of Black attacks them. They have Billy Gunn's boots. So it looks like, Jimmy, are we goading Billy Gunn out of retirement? Is that what's happening here?
It kind of feels that way. And since House of Black is a 3-person team, let's.
They are the trio champs, right?
Yeah. So having Billy Gunn coerced out of retirement, I think this, makes sense.
Can I ask you guys a question? And hear me out, because I don't feel like everybody can watch Collision. Okay. I haven't been able to watch a lot of Collision. I think I caught one show so far. Do you think that the champions that are showing up more on Collision is hurting a little bit the product? Because I am forgetting about certain champions. It takes me a second when FTR come out to go, oh yeah, they're the tag champs. Or when House of Black randomly shows up because we don't see them here anymore as often to go, are they the trio champ? How do you keep these people that are showing up? Because the viewership says it, right? This is not just me. You have not even half of your viewership is watching on Saturdays. You don't think it's hurting some of the champions right now?
A case can be made for it. I it's still too, for me at least. I don't watch Collision live. It's a Saturday, and I'm just not going to watch it live. I'm just not.
And it's and even up here in Canada, not to interrupt you there, Justin, it doesn't air live. You have to stream it,
right?
And then it comes on later on the station that airs it up here.
Yeah, it's still too early for me to understand exactly what Collision, like where it's going to live. Like it obviously they're putting more effort into it than Rampage, and it's live and it's got Punk. I don't know yet. I don't know.
They haven't been very clear about whether there is a brand split or not. And I wish they were a little bit more clear about it, right? Because if you tell me, hey, you're only going to catch these people mostly over here unless we're building to a pay-per-view or something.
Issa, we were just questioning if Jericho knew what he was doing 7 days out from what he did tonight. You're telling me that they're going to have that kind of
You're right. You're right. I have high hopes. I don't know what I was thinking.
I mean, Jesus.
But I think it will help to I don't know, like a video package here or there. You have people talking for like half hour at a time. Why not cut them by like 2 minutes just to throw a video package of people that we might not see here every week?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I'm not gonna make any grand judgment yet on Collision again because I don't watch it regularly live. I catch the highlights after the fact, and it's still too early for me to figure out again where it's gonna live long term in the AEW sphere. If it's
It
gonna,
might not if it keeps doing host.
yeah, I don't know. Well, also, and again, but I'm also it's Saturday. I think expectations for it for the network are different.
Right.
So that's a real thing. So. All right, finally, main event. Short for time. Pressed for time. They are. So the Guns come out, and then the Bucks attack them at the stage. That's not a babyface thing to do. I actually have to assume that this probably was an audible call of like, we are short on time. We don't have time for the Bucks to do their full on entrance. I think they probably just said, go out there and attack them. But
So
flip it exactly. Have the Guns attack the Bucks.
I think the Gun Boys have the coolest entrance in AEW right now. I'm sorry, I popped for it. I actually got a little pissed off that it got interrupted.
No, but why would babyfaces sneak attack the Guns?
Right.
Should be the other way around.
Let them finish their entrance, damn it.
Nonetheless, we are off and running to the match. The Young Bucks get the win. They do a little. Jimmy, what'd you say? A little heelish though. They won the match because they
out-heeled the heels.
They out-heeled the heels. What do you think about
that? I get it if you're an established baby because it's almost like they're back and forth. Are the Young Bucks baby faces? Is All Elite baby faces? They kind of are, sort of, but I don't know. That is a move that works when you have like established baby faces who the heels try to use underhanded tactics to win throughout the match, and then maybe they do something and no, guys, this is how it's done, kind of thing. But I don't know. It just didn't feel right in this situation. It looked too convoluted too, and the match itself felt like you said, like most of the night, it felt rushed. Like, hey, we got to get all this stuff in. Instead of saying, let's get all this stuff in, let's cut this stuff out.
Right.
Anyway.
Right.
It didn't do it for me.
Make sense. FDR helping their opponents.
No. Actually, I'll fight you on that one. So real quick, all right. So Bucks win. Jay White and Juice Robinson come out. They attack, and then FTR comes out and beats up the heels. So they beat up Jay White. They beat up Juice Robinson. They beat up the Guns. Here, what I don't like is FTR then does exactly what Adam Cole did earlier in the night. They tease that they're getting ready to hit their finisher on the Bucks, and then no. So again, redundancy.
Right.
But I'm okay with FTR saving them, Issa, because one, FTR has still been presented on TV as like baby faces. They have not been full-fledged heels. And they want this tag match with the Bucks. So I understand kind of like it's that weird psychology of preserving your opponent so you can have the match. No
excuses.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I'll let that slide. I'll let that logic slide here. To me.
Yeah, not me.
Okay.
I mean, that's fine. It
That's not how it works in the streets. Okay,
hey, I'm undefeated in the streets. All right. Every single match tonight, there was Radio Gaga after.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just unbelievable.
It was a confusing show, but we did book some matches for all of him.
Yeah, I will be fascinated when the numbers come out for this one.
I typically don't care about the ratings, but I'm very curious to see, especially quarter per quarter, just to see what drew and what, because I have a feeling that I know how it's going to go.
No, I'm with you. I'm not usually a ratings person. What appeals to me. What I feel, what doesn't. And tonight, I got more of the doesn't than does. Let's put it that way. A lot of fodder for my rants, anyways.
And that's the thing. It's like sometimes some of these shows can be painful to watch. But it's like, well, at least we'll have no trouble talking about stuff tonight.
Right. And look, I know there are going to be people out there. Oh, you guys just can't take. No, you guys don't get it. When AEW does well, the whole business does well as a whole, and we want it to succeed because I have friends there, and I want to see them do well. You know what I mean? But when they don't, I'm going to call them out.
Same.
And in addition to that, this is a historic thing that they're about to do, and I just wanted to fulfill expectations. I think this show coming up is going to be so visually appealing. I think it's just going to be something to watch, and I just wanted the build up to it to feel like I don't want to compare it. So but like a WrestleMania, like as big as it looks like on paper and on numbers, and it doesn't feel like that priority and that importance
Mm.
is there right now. Just it feels like a money grab, and I hate that.
Mm.
Yeah. No, same, Jimmy. Same. Again, I would love to have the more good stuff to talk about, but like just, but I'm not gonna lie and say, oh, it was great, it was fun.
No.
And like to be as transparent as I'm willing to be, I'm not gonna name positions. So, like a very good friend of mine, a friend who was so good of mine, he was in my wedding party. Works on the production truck at AEW. His sister also works for the company. I'm not going to say what she does there. Obviously, I'm very vocal about how all the years I managed Wardlow, worked with Wardlow. Britt trained here, was at her first match here. Like, she was on Chair Shot Reality for many years. Like, so it's not. I'm not going to hide that. Like, I have friends there too. I want them all to be in winning environments. I am not going into this going, oh, I hope AEW just really shits the bed this week. No. In fact, if anything, I'm more frustrated when they give me things like this. I'm maybe more frustrated at them than I am WWE because I have some more personal ties and to some extent to people in AEW.
It's just frustrating. That's all for me. It is, anyways.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was the night. Seriously though, I know it was part of again the time that I was the most critical and the most explicit in my
I thought you were great tonight.
in my language, but I don't want it to get muddied.
Right.
Them and anybody else who's doing any effort to say please help the Maui fight, I don't want that to get lost. I don't want somebody to watch this and take something out of context.
Right.
What's terrible? It is terrible what has happened at Maui. Donate and help in any way you can. Tonight's Dynamite was just all over the place. They're 11 days out from this from the biggest show ever, and they've done in arguably in wrestling. This is baffling. But
the thing that the trap they can't fall in is, yes, they've done great numbers as far as attendance and tickets, and now so they can't say we've got them. You haven't got them. You've got them coming to the show. Now is your time to deliver to keep them on board.
Exactly. Big thanks to all of you guys watching us live across, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Twitch, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter. We really do appreciate it. And of course, if you're checking out the archive video or audio, wherever you get your podcast, we appreciate it as well. We understand sometimes staying up late with us on a Wednesday night is just not the best for you. But hey, always tweet us, tweet any of us, and let us know where in the world are you when you are checking out this podcast. What are we doing to help you get through your day? We greatly appreciate it. If you could pull us up on, again, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you do the podcast, and please leave a rating, leave a review. We really would appreciate it. Tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. All right. Final plugs and final thoughts, Jimmy Korderas.
What can I say? It was not one of their better efforts, let's put it that way. And I'm being polite when I say that. And like Issa said, I'm curious to see what the numbers are. As a guy who's not a numbers guy, I am curious to see what the numbers are. And as far as where you can catch me, obviously here on Wednesday nights and Monday nights after Raw as well, talking what we liked and what we didn't like we did today. And also you can check the Reffing It Out podcast with my good brother in stripes, Brian Hebner, and I, and RJ, who's the glue that holds the show together. And this week we have Garrett Bischoff as our guest, and we had a lot of fun chatting with him. So you can check that out. And also my Ref and Rants weekly daily from Monday to Fridays on all my social media platforms, where again, critiquing, not to tear down, but to help tighten screws that I believe need tightening.
Very nice, very nice. Great podcast. Don't know Garrett, but I've been told he is a good brother. So very cool to hear that. Issa, give me your final thoughts and plugs.
Yeah, I thought it was a confusing episode. I'm excited for All In, and I just all in. I just wanted to do great. So you guys can find me here on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Also my own YouTube channel, NYC Demon Diva, where I do watch along for the majority of the shows we cover here. You guys can also find me on Lucha Libre Online. I will be there with them this Saturday covering the WWC show here in Bayamon, Puerto Rico. That's going to be a blast. So I've been putting all kinds of content, so go subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Very good. Subscribe away. I'm at Justin LaBar all across the socials. Hit me up at any time. Catch me on Mondays and Wednesdays here on Wrestling Inc. on the podcast. Friday morning, Spar with LaBar on Busted Open. Dave LaGreca's taking off. So this Friday, I believe it's myself, Thunder Rosa, and I think Fightful's Denise Salcedo. I believe this will be a first time for the three of us. So check that out this Friday morning. Again, thank you to everybody who supports the podcast. Again, we can all have a difference of opinion. That's what makes this fun. If we all agreed, then this would be boring. So it's all fun. That's going to do it. Again, do all the right things. Like, comment, share, tell a friend. Help any way you can. Craziness, crazy. And now with the fires, help any charity. Help anybody. Help anybody. Help somebody if you can do it. That's what we need a little bit more in the world now is love, sweet love. All right, that's going to do it. Thanks, everybody. Be good. Smoke them if you got them. Drink them if you got them.